There is this thing that I think about often when considering the logic of religion. Something I often ask creationists when they challenge me. I ask them a certain set of questions, and it goes as follows. Do you believe in God? They say yes. Do you believe God is omnipotent? They say yes. Do you believe God is all-knowing? They say yes. Do you believe that life is a test? They say yes. Then I ask, if God is all-powerful and all-knowing, and if life is truly a test, then how could it be a test if God already knows the outcome? If he doesn't know the outcome, then he isn't all-knowing. If he isn't all-knowing, then he isn't all-powerful. And if he isn't all-powerful, then is it really God to begin with? Fear is not faith. It's manipulation. Religion does not need truth. It needs fear. It also collapses under scrutiny. The moment you really start to think about it. The moment you begin to think for yourself. Critical thinking skills are the enemy of the church because it challenges authority. It challenges the system they've created to dupe the population. The whole system itself is literally built around, do you believe this? You should. Or you'll burn forever. Do you hear how pathetic that is? It's a form of supernatural extortion. No other idea in history relies on threats of eternal punishment to survive. Marx did not use the fear of hell to sell communism. Plato didn't scare people into loving the Republic. But Christianity? Oh yeah, if you don't believe every word we say, you will be tortured eternally. That's the most aggressive marketing campaign of all fucking time. I want to talk about this supposed word of God they love to throw around, the Bible. They love to quote every chance they get and make themselves feel like they know something that the rest of us don't. If you actually read the thing, it's a cracked puzzle of contradictions and moral messes. I've already touched on some of these in a previous video, but I want to reiterate on them for the sake of this one. Thou shalt not kill, Exodus 20:13. But then the next minute, now go and strike Amalek, devote to destruction of all that they have. So that's in Samuel 15:3. So which the fuck is it? God says don't kill people until genocide is commanded. This isn't deep theology. This is a text that literally says, yes, murder people except when I say to. Inconsistency. Morality is on demand here. Morality is when I say so. And then there's some lines like, the Lord regretted that he made human beings in Genesis. But if God is supposed to be all-powerful, all-wise, all-knowing, and perfect, then how does he regret anything? Is this learning on the job? This sounds like incompetence at best. And there's the hardening of Pharaoh's heart in Exodus. The text that literally says God hardened a man's mind so that he would suffer more, so God could punish him more. It's just psychological torture. So the moral center of this religion not only contradicts itself, it makes God look like a plot device in someone else's nightmare. Christians pick and choose what they believe and ignore the rest. Now, I want to talk about the practice of it here for a second. Christians love quoting parts of the Bible that justify their shit politics. Okay. Oh yeah, God hates abortion except with this one in particular. In the Bible, there's examples where God actually condones abortion. There's the whole part about the bitter waters. It goes as follows. May the Lord cause you to become a curse among your people when he makes your womb miscarry and your abdomen swell. May this water that brings a curse enter your body so that your abdomen swells and your womb miscarries. Then the woman is supposed to say, Amen, so be it. Then there's the parts where they want to shit on more of people's bodily rights. When they say shit like, oh yeah, marriage is only between a man and a woman. Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Yo, yeah, gays are sinful. How dare they? Even though we're supposedly all created in God's image and he is perfect, but whatever. There's also the part about sell all that you have and give to the poor in Luke 12:13, which is nowhere to be seen in modern day. You think your Christian friends or neighbors or family members want to get rid of all of their possessions? And let's talk about those megachurch pastors that make millions off of their mindless followers. There's also love your enemies in Matthew. Now, I don't know about you, but when this comes into mind, when I see this same crowd that in our history pushed the idea of manifest destiny, which led to roughly the death of about 350,000 natives, I start to question what constitutes as an enemy. Seems to me the lines are blurred just a bit. And what about mixing fabrics? Leviticus 19:19, do not wear clothing woven of two kinds of materials. You think Christians really give a shit about that? They pick verses that fit whatever culture war they're trying to win and ignore the ones that require actual sacrifice or empathy or any sort of humility. It's all a form of selective storytelling. It's like saying, I believe every word in this book, except the parts that I think are yucky or inconvenient to my life. If I had a nickel for every time someone said, God is love, but is that really true based on everything we know? The Bible literally says God kills children, commands genocides, punishes people eternally, regrets creating humanity, plays psychological games with minds. That doesn't sound like love to me. It sounds like a moral wrecking ball with a PR department. If your deity's moral code would get you arrested in the modern world, maybe it's not moral, maybe it's outdated. Just a thought, okay? If your sacred text says that violence is justified, then your moral compass is pointing towards chaos. And Christians glue this together with faith. It's like patching a sinking boat with chewing gum and telling everyone it just needs more belief. Just believe harder. Just pray more, you guys. Let's get this one thing straight, okay? Nothing about this is innocent whatsoever. You hear people say it all the time. Oh, religion is harmless. Oh, Christianity is personal. Faith is comforting. Bullshit. It's not harmless. It's not harmless when it insists you're immoral if you don't accept supernatural threats, perpetuates intolerance, demonizes entire groups of people, rationalizes violence and exclusion, excuses cruelty in the name of obedience. If it were harmless, it would be irrelevant. And if it were just personal, it wouldn't attempt to shape laws and politics. And if it were just comforting, it wouldn't require so much fear to maintain its power. I grew out of this stuff a long time ago. I didn't just wake up one day and decide Christianity was stupid because I wanted to be a contrarian. I stopped believing because I started to think for myself. I saw the holes in the logic. I felt pained by the lack of moral consistency. I recognized that fear was doing the work, not the truth. And I realized that people were using this stuff to wield power over me and others, not because the ideas were persuasive, but because they were demanded of us. If something stands on truth, it thrives under scrutiny. If something collapses under questions, then it wasn't truth. It was fear with the packaging. It's a scam, not in some edgy internet atheist sense of the word, but in the real functional emotional sense. It promises certainty, it demands obedience, it punishes doubt, and it thrives on fear. And when you look at it, without the social conditioning, without the childhood indoctrination, without the emotional manipulation, there's nothing left but an idea that survives on surrender. A scam isn't necessarily someone lying. It's a scam because it's something that only works when you're not thinking about it. Christianity doesn't want your questions. It does not want your doubts. It does not want your independence. It wants your total submission. It's all a big-ass loyalty test. Because once belief becomes your identity, walking away feels like dying. And that's intentional, because that's how cults work. They don't want to just sell you an idea. They want to replace your very sense of self. They make you depend on them for guidance and your very identity. And that's why people get so angry when you criticize Christianity. Not because you're wrong, but because you're threatening the scaffolding, holding their whole entire worldview together. Sin is a made-up disease with a built-in cure. Sin is genius. It's an absolute marketing genius. First, Christianity, they invent the problem. You are broken. You are dirty. You are inherently wrong. Then it sells you the solution. Good news. We're the only ones who can fix you. That's not salvation. That's a protection racket. Imagine if I just walked up to you on the street. Hey, you're sick as fuck. You're going to suffer forever. And you ask me, what am I sick with? And I say, oh, don't worry, I just made it up. But luckily for you, I have the cure and I can sell it to you. It's Christianity. That's most major religions. That's how cults work. You are born guilty. You are born condemned. You are born owing a debt you never agreed to. Born into a sin you never asked for. But you're sold the cure through obedience and blind faith. Reject yourself and trust in us, because we know what's best for you. And if you don't accept that arrangement, you're told you deserve eternal damnation and punishment. It's a cosmic, existential gaslighting. Another thing that Christians love to talk about is free will. It's a thing I've touched on a little bit in the beginning of the video. The whole flaw about the idea that life is a test. They say that God gives us free will. But what that actually means in practice is that you're free to choose between worship and eternal torture. Sounds less like freedom and more like extortion, doesn't it? If I were to come up to you and put a gun to your head and I said, choose whatever you want, you don't suddenly have free will because I just smiled at you while I was saying it. Yet Christians defend this system with a straight face, as if it's all just okay and makes any fucking sense. They'll say, God doesn't send people to hell. People choose that. That's like saying someone chose to drown because they didn't accept your lifeboat after you pushed them into the water. If Christianity were true, then your eternal fate depends heavily on when and where you were born. Born in America? Congrats. Christianity is all over the fucking place. Born in Saudi Arabia? Good luck. Born before Jesus? Whoops. So let me get this straight. Let me really dive into the meat and potatoes of this whole dilemma. An all-knowing and all-loving God sets up a system where billions of people are born into the wrong culture, never hear of the correct doctrine, and are punished eternally for it. Sounds like a spiritual lottery run by an incompetent and inconsistent deity, doesn't it? Sounds more like, to me, a thug demanding my submission if I don't just love them over a situation they put me in. And Christians know this is uncomfortable, so they dance around it. They say, well, God judges hearts, or God has a plan. That's no answer. It's just evasion. Faith is not a virtue. In every other area of life, belief without evidence is considered a heavy problem. If someone says, I believe the government is run by lizard people, we don't applaud their faith in it. If someone says, I believe vaccines are poison, we don't say, wow, what a strong belief, except maybe if you're a Facebook Christian. But when it comes to religion, believing without evidence is suddenly a virtue. Faith isn't praised because it's normal. It's praised because it bypasses critical thinking. Hell, it does all of the work for you. Faith is belief without evidence, which also translates into ignorance. There's no wisdom in it, just intellectual surrender. The Bible can be awfully vague as well. People will tell you the Bible is profound, that it's layered, that it's mysterious. No. It's just vague, and vagueness is not depth. It's flexibility with dressing. The Bible can mean anything because it says everything. That's why two Christians can read the same fucking book and come away with opposite conclusions. Pure interpretive chaos. That's what it is. A book that creates so many denominations to explain itself isn't clear truth. It never was to begin with. Those who believe in it were fooled by others or tricked themselves into taking it as such. People see what they want to see. That's why this shit persists. Christianity isn't around because it's true. It's around because it taught you when you were young. It socially engineered you. It punished your doubt. It rewarded conformity. And once you see that for what it is, you cannot unsee it. And when you cannot unsee it, when you step outside of that bubble, the whole thing starts to look like less of a divine truth and more like an ancient system that never updated its terms and conditions. Let me make one thing clear in all of this. I don't specifically hate Christians. I hate their religion, but not every single Christian I've met throughout my life was a piece of shit. I'm sure many of you can relate with that on some level, but what I truly hate beyond forgiveness is a system that teaches people to distrust their own minds, a doctrine that calls curiosity sinful, an ideology that mistakes obedience for morality. And I hate how many people are still stuck inside of it, not because they're stupid, but because they were scared before they were old enough to question it. If your belief system needs fear to survive, it doesn't deserve loyalty. And if letting go feels terrifying, that's not a sign you're wrong. That's a sign that it had you.